Welcome to another episode of Dynamics Corner. I want to get paid, don't you? I'm your co-host, Kris.
And this is Brad. This episode was recorded on November 27th, 2024. Kris. Who doesn't like to get paid? Who
Paid on time.
and paid on time? Who doesn't want to make it easy for people to pay them? If you have a business, right? It's a good way to get paid.
Jeez.
And with us today, I'm hungry after this episode. You know what I'm craving? I'm craving some coffee bacon. Like bacon flavored coffee? A coffee flavored bacon. With us today, we had the opportunity to talk with Wade and Kate from UST Pay to learn all about payment processing within Business Central.
Welcome.
To another episode. Ready, 2, 3, 1.
Look at my Jack Nicholas hat, guys. You see that?
Yes.
We gotta talk about
That
that.
I don't know if you
Must
saw my
have
LinkedIn
been
post.
an amazing experience
It
on
was
many
amazing.
levels.
How did that work out? Like, how did that all happen? To have, as someone as a guest.
how did that come about? Yeah. So a good friend of mine, he made a pretty sizable donation to the Nicholas Foundation, which they support like child health care. So the Miami Children's Hospital is named after Nicholas. So it's called Nicholas Children's Center in Miami, or Children's Hospital. But a friend of mine, he made a pretty sizable donation. I don't know how much, but I guess, we can all
Enough
guess
to get an
how much it
invite?
might be. But that was, so he got an invite to bring like 7 guests of his. So there were 8 of us, and we were at Jack Nicholas's house, and his wife Barbara was there, of course. And so it was the 2 of them, Jack and Barbara, and 8 of us. So it happened to be 8 guys because we're all golfers and all avid golfers. In fact, I told my wife about a month before, I said, by the way, I'm going to Jack Nicholas's house for dinner. And she goes, I can be your assistant. I mean, I can carry your bags. I'd love to go with you, I'm thinking, my wife doesn't even golf. Why does she want to go to dinner with Jack Nicholas? And I go, it's Jack Nicholas, the PGA golfer, the very famous PGA golfer. She said, oh, I thought you were talking about Jack Nicholson. She says, okay, that's right. You go ahead. So she was suddenly not interested.
That
But that's how it happened. Yeah.
I saw the photos that you had shared, and I do have to ask, I was impressed by the private jet that it looked like you took. That must have been an experience.
Yeah, that wasn't provided by Jack. That was actually the guy that is a friend of ours who made the big donation. He's also like has a kind of a NetJets type of thing.
Okay.
Type of subscription. So we hopped on his quote unquote NetJets plane, his.
Oh, that must have been an experience
That's
on its own. I
amazing.
mean, I'm not a golfer. Of doing working in consulting and implementations for 20 plus years. Early on, and not so much recently, because I think everybody knows, I had always been offered the opportunity for foursomes, for events and, tournaments. And I've always had to decline because I never went golfing. But Wade, I think maybe you should come visit and you could teach me how to golf.
Okay.
On a Saturday, real quick.
I mean, is it
How
something
much time do you have?
Well, I mean, there are plenty of golf courses around me, so I think you would have a lot of fun, and I could just tag along with you and learn.
Okay. So what is your like sport? What is your?
Right now, I don't do anything besides exercise. I used to hike. I like to run. I don't, I'm thinking I want to play pickleball. Many people who golf told me at this point that I probably shouldn't pick it up because I may not have the patience for it, and it takes a lot of time.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm not a golfer, but
Yeah.
Your
maybe you could.
your hiking opportunity went away since you moved to a state that's mostly flat.
That is why some of my activities had recently changed, because the environment had also changed, which is why I think it'd be perfect for Wade to come spend some time and help me with my golfing game.
Sounds like a plan. Maybe in the next time we all see each other, we'll tag along, Wade, and play some
Okay.
golf.
No, I often volunteer to drive the golf cart. Like, I'll just drive the golf cart to get out there and enjoy what it's like and see what it's like on the
Then
golf
I
course.
provide the drinks, Brad. You drive the cart, and then I'll serve the drinks.
Oh, okay. So you'll be the drink man?
Yes.
Well, speaking about that, a lot of people say golf is not even a sport, and I would always dispute that. But then somebody once said to me, very recently said, well, golf is the only activity where you can drink and, participate in it. So that makes it not a sport. And that was a tough one to argue.
That is a tough one to argue.
But I mean, what is a sport? I mean, darts, is darts a sport? People drink and they play darts.
That's true. There you go. All right,
Pool.
so I'm back on again.
Competition,
Pool.
right?
I'm trying to think. Fishing. People who drink while they go fishing. And fishing's considered a sport.
That's
so I
right.
think
That's right.
you have a claim, Wade, to argue this a little bit deeper, that golf is a sport. There is some walking, and you do have to swing the club, so it does require some physical ability to swing the club at varying amounts of pressure to send the ball the distance that it needs to go.
Mhm.
So I'm with you on it being
That's
a sport.
true. Okay.
By the way.
Well, thank you for that argument. That helps. I'm going to use that
excellent.
in the future.
Excellent.
If someone pulls it on me. But I asked Kate. I asked Kate if she had some pictures of all of us together, since we've been at many conferences together and stuff like that. And she said, yeah, she's got some pictures. I don't know, maybe if you could ever show it as part of the podcast. But
Excellent. I think we will, Kate. If you'd send those over, we can put them in the video recording as well as on the episode page.
There's a drink in our hands in almost every one of them. Just heads up.
Nobody knows what's in it. It could just be water.
Because there's a drink in your hand doesn't mean that the contents is poor, because I am on this mocktail kick, and I will tell you, some of these mocktails that I've been
They're pretty
drinking
good.
They
Yes.
taste better than a drink with alcohol in them, and I don't have the same effect with my sleep, because that's my latest craze, is monitoring and sleep management with it. So those drinks in my hand most likely will be a mocktail. But if you share those with us, maybe Kris can edit up the
I'll post
drinks
it up.
too.
Boop,
But,
right there.
yeah, yeah, we'll just blur it out now.
It's
But
pretty
with
good.
that-
I've got a couple of them that are pretty good.
Excellent. Please
All right.
share them with us, and we will share
Looking
those as
forward
part
to
of
it.
the episode as well.
Okay.
But with that, Wade, Kate, thank you for taking the time to speak with us. Again, it's always a pleasure speaking with and seeing you, as Wade had mentioned. We do get the opportunity to see each other quite a bit at various conference and even user group sessions. I know we've all been there, so it's great to speak with you again and hear from you. But before we get into the conversation, I had many questions about UST and both of you. Before we get into that, do you mind telling us a little bit about yourselves, Kate?
Sure, I will start. I am, since I was on the podcast before, I have gotten married with a last name change. So I am Kate Coffey-Bacon, VP of Marketing and Events at US Transactions Corporation. So I am at as many events, conferences, meetups in the community as much as I can possibly be, building relationships, meeting new people. So that's probably where you know me.
Excellent. Congratulations on the wedding.
Yeah, congrats.
And congratulations
Thank
on
you.
a great marketing name, because Coffey-Bacon sounds like such an amazing drink. I mean, people put bacon in everything. I mean, there's even bacon festivals. So
I know.
Coffey-Bacon sounds like a drink. or
Yep.
even coffee flavored bacon or bacon flavored coffee.
It's the best way to start your day.
I think so too. So,
Yeah.
and you have both bacon and coffee to start your day.
Yep.
Wade. So.
Yeah, thanks. So, president of and founder of US Transactions Corp. Started the company in 2009, and we are Microsoft ISV. We've built a solution on the app source called UST Pay, and it's like the only credit card ACH processing solution that gives you the freedom to choose from 120 different payment gateways and processors. I'm sure you're going to have some questions for me later about that, but so we've actually been in the Microsoft space ever since the very beginning, just never really publicized it that much until we got on AppSource and kind of built the product offering out some more in the last 3 years. But my background is started my career as a CPA, Ernst & Young, then Price Waterhouse. Thought I was going to be in corporate America and, kind of go up that corporate ladder. That was kind of my ambition from after I graduated college. And, I don't know, somewhere along the lines, somebody slaps you across the face, right? And some type of reality sets in or whatever. And you realize maybe that's not the right thing. And so, yeah, it eventually led me down the path of starting my own company, which is where we are today. And it's great to be where we are, and to have this opportunity, and to be in the Microsoft space. And kudos to you, Brad and Kris, for doing what you do. Really like helping the whole Microsoft community to be the best, in the ERP CRM space of any other solution. I mean, I think that's what we're out to be, is create a community of where we can all win.
No, it is, and thank you for that. And it's strange. It is a great community in this space. It's a large community, but it feels so small because it feels like everyone's connected. And I like your point that we all can be successful. So everybody working together and helping everybody is important, because no one will always be all things to everyone, but everybody can be part of things to everyone, and that can make up a whole. So I'm thankful for the community that we have, and for products and companies such as yourself to help fill in where the feature-rich product of Business Central may have a need that isn't met, and to have the flexibility to have individuals or companies such as yours to be able to do that is great. But with that, you mentioned U.S. Transaction Corp, payment processing. What is U.S. Transaction Corp, and what is payment processing? I hear payment processing a lot. I hear of different apps and products, but sometimes I think a lot of people may hear the word or hear the term and not really fully understand what that means. But from the sense of a Business Central user, or if you have other offerings that you support, what does that mean? What does that mean to someone? What does it give them?
Yeah, good question. So a Business Central user, let's say they need to collect payments from the customer, right? And a lot of times collecting the payment is done outside of Business Central. Somebody sends a check and it goes and it's deposited in the bank. Well, all of that whole transaction process is done outside of Business Central. So I guess I don't need to go through the details of what you have to do when you get a paper check in the mail, but you understand it's very manual. And then at some point in the process, somebody's got to enter the information into Business Central manually. But and same thing with like an ACH payment. It's like a payment that comes in maybe into your bank, and you see it come in, but there's not much data about the transaction. So somebody has to do research about, well, what was this payment for? It may not exactly equal what the amount of the outstanding invoice was. And sometimes the ACH payment comes in from some like descriptor or some payer that is a little bit different in name, or much different in name, from what the name of your customer is in your Business Central, accounts receivable or on the invoice. So I'm sure you guys can relate to this, since you guys have worked with a lot of Business Central clients. But all of this is payments outside of Business Central and outside of the ERP. So I'm glad you asked the question about payments in the context of Business Central. So what we're trying to do, and what the other payment companies are trying to do also, is make all of that automated and seamless, so that when the payment does come in, it is automatically posting against the outstanding receivable of the customer without somebody without a BC user having to actually manually go into BC and go and record that somebody made the payment. No, it's automatically going to record that the payment was made. It's going to make the journal entry on the cash receipts journal. It's going to post it to the general ledger, to the right general ledger account, and all of this is done automatically. So that's one piece of it, and the second piece of it, Brad, is that when people talk about payments on the receivable side, because that's the part we're on, customer receivables, a lot of times they think about just the credit card processing piece. But our solution, we look at it more holistically. We want to look at not just the credit card processing, but make that the ACH, or the direct bank transfer, just as much an integral part of the solution as just credit card. So many of the payment providers, they're not going to publicize or really promote like an ACH type of solution that's built into Business Central, because there's not as much compensation involved with the ACH payment, because, as you know, credit card processing, the fees are like a lot higher, right? You're talking about 2.5–3%. And ACH payments, it's a much smaller fraction of what that would be. But we hear the complaints a lot from customers, from Business Central users, that the cost of credit card payments is very high. And so, we have no problem helping them to find other alternatives, like putting an ACH solution in there that is part of our solution as well, that would eliminate the credit card processing fees entirely.
That's a good call out, that the credit card fees are, crazy high. It's especially when you do a lot of high volume of credit cards. So the goal is really to shift to more ACH if possible, right?
Yeah, we actually read a statistic, I don't know, 6-8 months ago, that said that it was 80% of transactions in a company are non-credit card transactions. And so there's a lot of transaction opportunity that's being left, and that, we'd like to have a solution that is an answer to all of your payment needs. And that's a need.
That is interesting, because go back to your point, Wade. With payment processing, often that's what I thought of and what others think of as credit card processing. And then add that to your point that 80% of the payment processing is not credit card. So that's 20% of collections is done for credit card. And then that other 80%. So if you're trying to automate a solution, and if you're missing 80% of it, that's a big portion of it, where if you can pick up ACH, because ACH is becoming more and more popular. I have a lot of individuals that I talk with that's what they prefer now, is ACH. I'm thankful, because I still don't even understand why in the United States we work with checks, but it's a strange piece.
It's real.
But say it again.
It's real.
It is.
I get a check once a month. I'm like, wow, this is weird.
Yeah.
So, and you're also talking about manual processes that have a lot of room for error. You're talking about time, just time intensive processes, like Wade mentioned, going back and forth to your bank account, to Business Central. If it's integrated and all in the same place, it takes out a lot of that manual process. It eliminates the opportunity for error there. So that's a solution that we're offering.
So your UST payment processing supports credit card payments from customers. It supports ACH payments from customers. Does it also support wire transfers if someone wanted to pay by wire?
It does not support wire. We find that wire transfers tend to be little less applicable to the higher volume like day-to-day transactions, just because wire transfer fees, it's going to be $30. Um, sometimes the buyer, the customer, has to actually go to their bank to initiate the wire, so it's very time consuming for them too. It's very rare that we see that.
Okay.
I mean, so just on day-to-day transactions, B2B, there generally wouldn't be a need for a wire transfer. So um,
So that could
we
that
we
would
don't
stay
have.
in one of those edge cases, whereas you had mentioned. I mean, I am
Yes.
asking just for clarification on which
Yeah.
services are
Yeah.
offered. I know the cases that I've had to deal with the wire, there were edge cases where it's a one-off, and like you said, you had to run out, and they're costly as it is.
Yeah.
So maybe having to do that manual process is,
Yeah.
acceptable in that case. But I'm still stuck on this 80% outside.
Well, here's a good example, Brad and Christopher. So one of our clients recently, that we recently implemented, they have 600 checks a week that
Oof.
they're taking in. So just imagine, like, the manual nature of receiving 600 checks a week. So we said, look, let's try to get a portion of these, or a large percent of these checks, converted into ACH, okay, where you can send out, when you issue the invoice from Business Central, you're also sending out an email to the customer with a link, a secure link to pay, where they'll receive the email from you with the invoice, and it's being pushed out through Business Central through our UST Pay, with our UST Pay app. But the customer then receives the email. They can click on the link, and then they can enter their banking information directly and securely. So it's not like even the banking information is coming directly into Business Central. It's going through our middleware, which is PCI compliant, and they'll capture the banking information and encrypt it before it gets put into Business Central. But what happens is, now the customer now it becomes all electronic. Now it becomes all automated, because the customer is making the payment. Once the payment is made, they've entered the banking information, and Business Central is going to recognize, oh, okay, this payment came in and it was a bank payment, and they're going to post it against the outstanding invoice, mark it as paid, and then post it against the outstanding receivable in the cash receipts journal, and then post it to the general ledger account. And it's done. No intervention from anybody in the accounting department. Nobody has to go to the bank to pick up, or I'm sorry, to the mailbox or to the office to pick up the checks and then take it to the bank to make a deposit, or to start figuring out, who is this check from? I mean, imagine the time that it takes to sometimes figure out, who is this check even from, and what is it for?
Well, it's even to go back and
Yeah, I've
deposit
seen
it.
that.
You have the check, you have to find the application, you post the application, then you have to take it and deposit it, whether it either be mobile deposit, or if you go to the bank and you have to do the deposit in person. So there is an additional step. So the ACH, I could see where it's a time saving as well as the cost savings. You had mentioned the process of this. So within Business Central, you have an extension that needs to be installed to connect to an external service that's yours. So all of the payment processing of the financial information is done in that PCI compliant connection that you have, correct?
That's correct.
Is that my understanding?
Yes.
So that way, that anybody who has a Business Central implementation, if they have security concerns about storing credit card or payment information, none of that is in Business Central, if I understand you correctly.
Right. That's right. None of that is in Business Central. So somebody pays with a credit card, they're going to enter they enter their credit card information through that link. Microsoft Business Central doesn't even know what that full credit card data is. It doesn't even see it, because it goes directly through our PCI compliant middleware, and it's called Spreedly, actually, and that's what will vault the credit card data or the bank information, and it will send back a token to be stored in Business Central. And the token, if it gets stolen, nobody can do anything with the token, because the token is just a random, like 16-digit substitute number for the actual credit card or bank account number. And
Excellent.
yeah.
When working through the implementations, we were talking about Business Central. Which versions of Business Central do you support? Do you support online? Business Central Online would be the latest. Do you support Business Central on premises? If so, how far back to which version do you support? And even for those few that are still on Microsoft Dynamics Nav, do you have support for that as well? I know that's out of support and it's quite old, but there still are few kicking around with that.
Yeah, yes, there's a few that are out there. So we go as far back as a Nav 2017. And with Business Central, we do have customer situations where they're on-prem or cloud. Mainly, it's cloud only, but we do have government contractors where, because of the work that they're doing, they have to have their systems on like basically private cloud or like on-prem, and so those would be like what you're referring to as on-prem version of a Business Central. Yeah.
Okay. And as far as going through implementation and setup of this application within Business Central to support payment processing and collections, I'll summarize it as collections because to me that's the word I'll use. What is the typical life cycle of an implementation? And what have you found to be the best approach for going through an implementation?
So the implementation, what we would do, and actually this is where I think we have a big advantage, and where it's our focus is very important. We are focused on the Microsoft Dynamics ERP as a specialization. So other payment processors or solution providers, they would try to get their solution into multiple ERP solutions: Acumatica, Sage Intacct, Oracle, SAP, NetSuite, or any other combination of those. But what ultimately happens when you spread yourself out thin like that, you don't really understand the underlying ERP solution. You understand payments really well, but the underlying ERP solution you don't understand really well. We focus only on the Microsoft Dynamics platform, so our software engineers are only in the Microsoft Business Centrals more specifically. Okay, so when we are doing implementations with a client, everything from when somebody is a prospect to us and we're doing a demo, going through the requirements, going through the testing and implementation. I mean, we understand Business Central as well as the partner does. So we understand the whole order to cash process within Business Central. And so when we're going through the requirements discussion, when we're going through the demos, when we're going through the actual training of all the different use cases of credit card or ACH collections in Business Central, we are doing this all in Business Central, and we're walking folks through this in Business Central. And when we do this, the partner sees as well as the end customer sees that we know Business Central as well as anybody else. Like me personally, it's not me personally, but like our software engineers on the Business Central side, some of them, Adil, Robbie. I mean, they are there on the calls, and they're working with the partners and the customers, and giving a full-on training. So
no, it is. That is a big advantage that to have with an organization, because I've been part of implementations of products where they have a great product, but they really don't understand the application that's consuming the product or using the data from the product. Again, you're connecting to a service that you have, and it does create some challenges because even just terminology alone sometimes becomes challenging and frustrating because they're not used to the nomenclature of what we call things in Business Central. So It is nice to see that it's built in within that.
I mean,
so as they go through the process or the onboarding process or the use process, they work with your group, your team, or a partner. Is it something they work directly with you, or is it with through partners as well, or a combination of both?
No, Brad, they work directly with us.
Okay.
They work directly with us. So our team.
Okay, so that's the experience that they would expect. If we have a client that's interested and they see your product is a good fit, from a partner's perspective, you'd be working with the client directly to get it all set up.
Yes, we would be working directly with the client. I mean, many times the partner is on the call as well. I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, we had a call, like it was a training call. Actually, was going through the. We were still in the testing phase, so we were also training them in the Business Central test environment for the different use cases of how to accept credit cards. So Adil, our chief engineer, Business Central engineer, so he was leading the call. And the client had, there was one person from the partner, it happened to be Liberty Grove, and 7 people from the client side. And the person from Liberty Grove really didn't have to do much. She didn't have to do anything, honestly, because Adil knows Business Central so well. So about halfway through the conversation, the client says, like, oh, wow, this is not your first rodeo in Business Central, is it? And I'm like, well, Adil's been our chief engineer. He's been in Business Central for 30 years. So yeah, or well, the predecessor Navision, right? Or not as, yeah. So that was the biggest compliment, honestly, like where she said, oh, this is not your first rodeo, is it? I mean, so, but what a relief to the partner, guys, what a relief to the partner that they like know that when we're on the call, like they're not going to have to worry about stepping in to figure out like, oh, how does this work? Because you have to know a lot of stuff. You have to know a lot of stuff. I just can't imagine how you can cover it.
Yeah, I think that I think the
everything.
focus with Business Central is a good strategy because there's a lot of opportunities in the space to have a payment or collection solution within Business Central, and it sounds like your solution is easy to implement, and clients get to work with you directly, and at the same time still collaborate with partners as well.
Yes, and we love to work with the partners. I mean, as Kate will tell you, we spend a lot of time.
It's different working with the partners. See, to me, that's an advantage because now the partners aren't reliant to have to know the whole application. They have to understand what it does and how to set it up. But with you working within Business Central, it takes some pressure off a partner from having to manage the implementation and support the implementation, where in some other products, they may have to take it all on and then forward it over to the application, the ISV or whichever term you may use. And also from a customer's point of view, working directly with you who also understands the application gives them the comfort that both the payment processing portion as well as how it's applied with a specific function in Business Central, which I hear individuals talk about, well, the partner wants to, implement it or support it or do whatever. But to me, with all of the applications that are available, with all the depth of the Business Central implementations, to not have to worry about that piece in the sense that, someone will make sure that the customer is successful with the implementation of this is important. With the implementations, and speaking of successful, Kate, you mentioned something interesting to me. I'm still going to, get hung up on this 80%.
We love stats.
Statistics, yes. What type of process improvement have you seen or witnessed or heard from a customer that went from not using the UST payment processing service to using it? The before and the after metrics of some growth or some performance gains that they may have had.
Well, Brad, I'm going to have to turn that question over to Wade because he is the one that's walking through the implementation and the process with the customer, so he can give you a better before and after story than I can.
The improvement gains are mainly, I don't know if there's a statistic I can give you specifically, but the improvement gains, Brad and Christopher, are really around what you kind of already touched on. I mean, when the customer has a question, the BC user, I mean, they're calling us, and it's not like they're calling a 1-800 number, or that they're calling, or they have to put in a ticket for, or they have to put in like a ticket and then wait 2 weeks for a response to come back from the ticket. You know what I mean? I mean, they have the direct contact information of our customer support director, or somebody else in customer support. So Michaela Johnson, they have my direct contact. They have Adil's direct contact, if he was the one that was working on it. Rick Ricker, who is our payments expert on integrations and security, he is involved in most of our client relationships. So he's going to be in the Microsoft client relations. So he's going to be a direct point of contact. So any of our clients have a direct point of contact with each one of us and any of us. So so we're going to get back to you right away. We know who's reaching out to us. If it's from the client side, we're not going to say like, can you give me the last 4 digits of your social security number and like the zip code of your company, and then I can answer your questions? No, I know who it is. We know who it is, and we know what your business is. So this is like a huge difference in how we treat the customer and how we treat the partner, because now the partner doesn't have to worry that the client is going to be complaining about not getting what they need.
Yeah, I'm sure you have a lot of stories to share on other clients. Kate, someone in the as a VP of marketing at UST. I'm sure they'll give you some feedback. Is there any additional feedback or stories that you could share as well?
Yeah, I mean, I talk with the partners and with different consultants that we're working with on our process, and I get stories from them. I get feedback from them. And the feedback that I hear from our partners over and over again is that working with UST, with our team, gives them a sigh of relief. So if we're talking about the customers, Wade is better suited to answer that. But if we're talking about the relationship that we have with our partners and the way that we work with them, again, the thing that I hear over and over again is that the UST Pay team is, we foresee problems before they come up. We have a solution because, again, Adil is a BC developer. He knows Business Central through and through. So if there's an issue, he can foresee it, solve the problem. We have a payment solution for just about every problem that can come up because we have 120 different payment gateways. So there is a solution to even those toughest credit card problems. We have a solution and built into one of those gateways somewhere. So again, over and over again from partners, I just feel what they're saying is there's a confidence that comes in working with us, that they know that we're going to take care of them. We're going to make them look good because they're going to look good in the eyes of their clients, and we're going to take care of the clients. At the end of the day, everyone is happy, and we're making sure that our client and our partner satisfaction is 100%.
Yeah, I'm glad Kate. Sorry, I was just going to add, I'm glad Kate brought that up again, the 120 payment gateways and how we give people the freedom of choice, because the other, like the traditional payment solution in an ERP is like a monoline solution. It's one gateway, one processor, and then they say you have to use us as the processor. So this goes kind of back to what you were saying, Brad. What's the difference when that the partner or customer is telling us when they go from using somebody else to using us, is that before they had only one choice and they had to use that one processor, and they were more or less forced to use them. And as long as that solution did everything that they needed it to, that's great. But then as soon as your business, like let's say, grows, you may have another division, and you have a division in Canada, you have a division in US. In fact, this was the situation that we work with on, where the client had operations in Canada, they had operations in the US, they needed they wanted to use the payment processor that they already had, and that's fine. As long as it's one of the 120 gateway options that we can support, then that's no problem. We don't have to be your processor. We just connect you in through our UST Pay to the right gateway and to your processor, and it's done. This speeds up implementation for the partner, so it improves the professional services like profitability for the partner, because you're not wasting time on things that are going to slow things down, like setting up a new account, setting up a new credit card processing account, with a new processor. And that takes time. It takes like 2 weeks at least. And then you've got to test that account to make sure it's going to work okay, and all this stuff. And usually it takes more than 2 weeks, because you have to collect signatures from the client, and it's not easy to get all the signatures from the CFO and know your customer requirements, all these FinCEN requirements that are out there now that are much more stringent than they were before. So I know I'm kind of rambling on and on, but
so you're not forcing to choose a processor that you like only offer, right? Like
that's what I wanted to ask. So you're saying 120 gateways, payment gateways, you support with the UST Pay.
Yes.
So I look at it from this two points of view. If I am new to Business Central and I don't have any payment processing now, but I would like to, either I'm new or existing and I've never signed up to receive ACH or credit card payments. I may not know what a payment gateway is. Those that are using payment processing either within Business Central with another option or even another ERP software if they're moving to Business Central. What is a payment gateway? What does a payment gateway do as part of this process, and why is it significant that you support 120 of them?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. That's a good point. I just talk about it, but I never explained what it is. So payment gateway, just to throw some names out there. So payment gateway is basically a software app. Let me start by giving some names that you would know, like authorize.net. Payflow Pro, which is owned by PayPal, is a payment gateway. Card Connect, BluePay, CyberSource, PayTrace, Priority Payments, NMI, CyberSource. Oh, Stripe. Okay, Stripe is a well-known payment gateway, right? So all of these are basically the user interface, or the kind of their responsibility is to collect the credit card information directly so that it's not going through Business Central, okay? And they're responsible for vaulting the credit card and tokenizing it as well. But they're responsible for vaulting the credit card. So this is the purpose of the PCI gateway, PCI compliant gateway, and then they pass it on to a clearinghouse, like there's 6 major clearinghouses in the U.S., like First Data, TSYS, Global Payments, Elavon, and then it goes to Visa, MasterCard, and then goes to your merchant service provider, who makes the deposit into your bank account. So it's kind of like a real, you would think it would just be one step and it's done. Unfortunately, it's not. But the payment gateway is really that first step in getting the credit card transaction into the banking system. And so that's why that gateway is so important, and your ability to choose what you want. Because if you're already using something, let's say you're coming from Great Plains and you were using a certain gateway like Nuvei or something like that, or authorize.net, and you still want to use it when you come into Business Central, well, with us, no problem. In the case that I was talking about, where we worked with Tigunia, the customer wanted to use Card Connect because that's what they had. Hey, you want? No problem. That's one of the 120 choices. So if that already exists, all we need is the API user ID and password, and you enter it in, and then it's going to connect. UST Pay will connect into Card Connect for you.
Excellent. So if somebody has an existing payment processor or gateway, I hear the words, I'm going to assume they can be interchangeable, correct? So if I have an existing payment processor, either within Business Central through another application, and I want to move to your solution, or as you had mentioned, I'm coming from one ERP software or some other platform, and I have a payment gateway, chances are with you accepting a 120, we'll be able to use that existing payment processor. If I'm somebody new, it sounds like I would need to set up a payment gateway or a payment processor. How is that relationship handled with your application? Could I have you and your service choose the payment gateway or use the payment gateway, or would I have to go out and find a payment gateway on my own, then come to you and say, okay, I have this payment gateway and this is what I want to use? How does that work for the new implementations?
Okay. Yeah. These are good detailed questions. My goodness. Okay. So right off the bat, here's another big advantage of having 120 gateways and processors. So we can help you get like some competing quotes from 2 or 3 payment processors because we have so many choices that are built in there. Because of our expertise, we can make a recommendation for you, like which, like PayTrace or Priority or Card Connect or whatever. One of these are going to be probably the best for you because of this reason or that reason. But I'm not saying that that's hard and fast that that's going to be the best solution. It depends on the customer situation. How are they taking credit card payments? Is it card present versus card not present? What types of customers are paying them? Is it government, or is it Fortune 500 companies that are your customers, or is it small customers that are buying $25 t-shirts, thousands of them a day? So it depends on the situation, which is going to determine what solution is better for you, because part of why there's so many options is because they grew out of different business requirements or needs. So that's how we're going to be able to help you. But because there's so many options, we can essentially give you like 3 different quotations, because ACH and credit card processing is a competitive bid process. So you can easily get 3 quotes. Now, if you take another solution out of the box that is the more traditional solution, well, you're only going to get 1 quote, and you only have 1 option. That's it. So there's no real being able to shop around or having a choice. I mean, the only way you have choice is you've got to look for another software app that handles another payment gateway and processor, and then you got to ask them for a quote. So
you're doing the legwork for a customer that may not know which one to go, and then you're doing the legwork and presenting and propose a solution.
Yes. So
yes. In addition, what Wade is saying too, there's a great opportunity for UST Pay to partner with a client, with a company in their scalability. So as their business grows and they have different needs that arise, we have a solution that's built in. If we need to switch their gateway, we have an option. That's another value that we're bringing. In addition to knowing these gateways, knowing the, if you want to call it a matrix, like we know the strengths and the solution that these different gateways are bringing, and we're little matchmakers. We can put the right client with the right gateway.
So that is even an added service. I was coming from the question of a new implementation or new user to payment processing, how they could take advantage of your services. But it sounds like to me, even if I was an existing payment processing customer from elsewhere, it sounds like you could also help somebody find and validate that they're working with the proper payment processor for their situation. Wade, you talked about different scenarios based upon transactions, volumes, types of payments. So not only is it the ability to automatically apply cash or payments in Business Central, which I have a few questions on, you can also help someone validate and find the right payment gateway or payment processor for their business as part of this service. See, that's deep. Going back to the payment application, one thing with payment application, So obviously, and a customer may have one invoice. The invoice will go out. The customer will pay the invoice with a credit card, and it will come back in, and you can apply it to that payment and close out the invoice. How do you handle the cash application where there may be multiple invoices to pay? So one of the scenarios that you come across is you have multiple invoices that may go out and a customer may pay. Do they pay individual invoices? Can they pay a fixed dollar amount, set dollar amount? And how does that cash, I use the word loosely, cash, how does that cash get applied to the open AR for a customer?
So there's a couple of ways. One is the accounting back office or customer service. They can go into Business Central. We created a new tab called Card Cash Receipts Journal, I think it is, where then you can, or Card Cash Receipts, I can't remember what it's called exactly, but you can then go into the customer and see like all of their open invoices. And so you can select which invoice is going to be paid and then mark the invoices that are going to be paid, and any one of those invoices, if it's going to be a partial payment, you can indicate what the partial payment is, and then just tag it to the appropriate credit card number that's in the wallet. So the BC user would see the last 4 digits of the credit card number to know which card on file is going to be the one used. Okay, so that's a situation where, let's say in customer service, they're going to handle doing the payment for the customer, because the customer says, yeah, sends an email and says, yeah, go ahead and just pay these invoices with my card on file. The second scenario is we would have an invoice portal where the customer can see what their outstanding invoices are, and they can do more of a self-service. Manually select which of the invoices they are going to pay, and then they would either enter their credit card number or they would choose the card on file.
Okay, excellent. I mean, I know that's one thing is how to determine how to pay for the cash and the applications.
Right.
What would you say would be the average time to implement this solution? Is there an average time? Are there any factors that would contribute to either delaying or speeding up that time?
So the time to implementation, I would say, is realistically like 2 to 4 weeks. And this is assuming you already have NAV set up. So if we're going to be implemented as part of the larger Business Central implementation or migration, then obviously we're tagging along with whatever the migration or whatever the implementation is for the entire Business Central. But if they already have Business Central set up and they're adding UST Pay, 2 to 4 weeks. The shorter end of it is, let's say they already have their merchant account, so we're just going to connect into their merchant account, but we're going to do some testing beforehand in their BC test environment. We're going to do some test transactions in Sandbox, and then that'll take a week or two and then do a little bit of training internally, and then when everybody agrees, hey, this looks great, then we go into production. The longer end of that, 4 weeks, that's if we're going to have to set up a new merchant account for them. So we have to go through the underwriting process with them to get a new account set up. And so you got to factor in another couple of weeks. So that's why it's 4 weeks for an implementation.
Excellent. I understand. I've worked with payment gateways and payment processing in some cases, and even with banks, and sometimes just the time to take to set up sometimes is their requirements, not necessarily the application that you're using. It's like you said, onboarding for a merchant. Sometimes credit checks or other types of financial information need to be sorted out, and it could take some time. So I know that's a factor that I've seen, that some implementations may have been delayed.
Mm-hmm.
Kate, what would you say was the best BC experience that you've heard of or had in implementation? Geez, I can't even speak. It's that time. We're coming up close to the holiday. We're recording this prior to the Thanksgiving break. My mind is already getting on all of the food that I'm going to eat, and I'm going to wear stretch pants this year.
Of course.
because
You have to. There's no other way, man.
I'm planning on. That's the trick. A lot of people don't realize that. They wear all these nice
Yes.
Thanksgiving clothes. You get together with family, friends.
Leggings
Sweats.
and an oversized sweater. That's what I'll be wearing. Leggings and an oversized sweater.
I don't know if I'm going to. Maybe I should try to wear leggings. I don't know if I could get any in time. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll wear leggings and an oversized shirt.
Sweatshirt.
And this year, or actually now, I can use a sweatshirt because I am in the colder part of the United States. So sweatshirts are going to be mandatory. But I think maybe I'll wear leggings, and I'll include that in the picture of us for this podcast episode. So we'll have a picture of all of us together, and then we'll have a picture of me at Thanksgiving with my leggings and my oversized sweatshirt.
There you go.
Like chewing on a turkey leg, please.
I can do that for you. I will. You have to
So,
remind
Brad,
me.
I actually have a good answer to your question. I think if you know me, you know how deeply relational I am. I pour a lot of who I am in my work world into the relationships that we have built. And my best experience, I have two. My best experience with an implementation came with bringing in several of our relationships to make a client happy. So e-commerce, consulting, brought it all together to give a client a product that they could depend on, that will grow with them as their business grows. It was emotional for me. It was like we all worked together to make this happen. And I was hearing the story actually at Community Summit a couple of months ago. And, Community Summit is always a little bit emotional for me because when we went, many people have heard the story before, but when we went to Community Summit just over 2 years ago, we knew maybe 5 people there. And the amount of time that Wade and I have spent in the community and getting to know people and spending time with people and, traveling and lots of one-on-one time, to walk into Community Summit is it's like one of those benchmark things. It's like we're looking at where we were, where we are now and where we're going. And so that's always emotional for me. And this year it was, because it just our community is so large and it's getting bigger. And Brad, you said it's a big community, but it's small at the same time. Like we all know each other and we trust each other. And that's unique. That is unique to this community. So those are kind of my two in one stories of working with several of our partners to achieve a result that was profitable and dependable for a client.
That's great. And it's inspirational from the from the community point of view, because like you said, you bring the relationships together, and it's like everybody has those strong relationships and bonds. And 2 years, I just must be getting
impressive.
old, because I could have sworn it was longer than 2 years. I am only in pencil still, which we're going to have to talk about and address, because
that's fine, Brad.
we're going to have
We've already talked about
the rubber will have to meet the rubber will have to meet the road sooner or later, because I may request that the pencil gets erased if it doesn't turn into pen shortly. Okay. But we'll
have to. We'll
talk about. Well, pen and Sharpie to me are the same. So similar to payment gateways and payment processing, maybe the same. Pen and Sharpie are the same, and I'm not pencil for any planet. So
because
after the Thanksgiving holiday, break out the Sharpie.
Got it.
It's excellent.
I was going to say, because Kate is on the marketing side, she sees more of the partner interactions than she does the individual client situations. But I mean, we have so many like interesting clients. I mean, like probably Kate is referring to we have a client that sells their products on the TV shopping networks. You know they make a lot of sales on those TV shopping commercials,
Oh,
right?
yes. Oh,
You know
I can't
and you know how
believe
good they are.
how many
Like
sales they make.
how much time they can spend just describing one like shirt to you, right? Or a scarf. It's
Very
but
thorough.
yes. But anyway, they're selling more precious metals. But anyway, um, Forvis was the partner. The community settlement. I mean, Kate was there. They're like, okay, it's so great to have somebody that is working side by side with us and really like handling the customer situation from soup to nuts so that, as you mentioned earlier, Brad, that they don't have to understand all of the details in credit card processing because you guys have to, you're implementing the entire solution. You have to understand the whole thing. How can you understand so much detail in, payments as we would? And that's what our job is. So, and that's the heavy lift that we
It
do.
makes
And
it
we,
makes it so much easier. We just pawn it
yeah,
off to somebody that just implements it, knows the industry anyway. Because I remember in the early days implementing payment solution. I mean, you have to own it. I mean, you'd still own it, but at least you don't have to do the actual work, and you just depend on your partner. In your case,
right.
the ISV UST, to do that for us.
Hmm.
It's super helpful.
Yeah. We have a lot of government contractors. They sell like products to the federal government, whether it's medical equipment, office supplies, a big company that runs a base store, military base store, and they're taking a bunch of government purchasing cards. So Extivia, one of the Microsoft partners, GovCon 365, and ArcherPoint. We worked with them together with InsightWorks to get their solution put in place for credit card processing, which was card present transactions, because it's all of these, what, here you go, like all of these anomalies of our customers, um, battleships and aircraft carriers that are coming into Norfolk Naval Base, and they're going into the store to buy all the materials and products that they need um, for whatever the 3-4 month uh, cruise that they're going on. And so this is the operation that our client has. So a lot of different, obviously food and beverage and food manufacturing wholesale is a big vertical for Business Central, but there's a lot of other interesting businesses that run on Business Central, and so it's
It
really
is.
cool to
Yes,
see.
there is.
I've been fascinated to see and learn about the businesses that use Business Central. It's amazing how some of these businesses operate because you don't even think about it when you're purchasing products or you see products and you never put any thought behind, or I used to
Yes.
not put thought behind in some cases.
Yep.
Wow. There's a lot that's involved in creating this, whatever this may be, this widget, right, to keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
But it does sound like you have a great solution, and it's great that those that use Business Central have a way to incorporate payment processing to help make their organization become a bit more efficient when processing payments, or maybe even a lot more efficient, depending upon the nature of their business. But Wade and Kate, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us this afternoon, this pre-Thanksgiving. I'm getting hungry now, and I have to go see if I can run out and get a pair of stretch pants before the stores close for the evening, because now I'm committed to it. But if anyone would like to learn more about the solution that you have for Business Central, what is the best way to learn about it or get in contact with you?
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm very, very active on LinkedIn. You can email me, Kate at ustranscorp.com, or Kate Coffey-Bacon. The fastest way to get a hold of me, and probably, frankly, the most memorable, Kate Coffey-Bacon on LinkedIn. Reach out. I'd be happy to connect. Schedule a demo. Wade Tetsuka at ustranscorp.com. Wade is also on LinkedIn. That's a great way to get both of us. We'd be happy to talk about our solution and our offerings and see if there's something that we can do to help you or your client. Brad, I do want to say, you mentioned at the beginning that we get an opportunity to see each other quite a bit in the community at meetups and things going on. What, Brad and Kris, where are you headed to next? When am I going to see you again?
Ooh.
I will
for the rest of the year, I'm hunkering down, but I don't know where Brad's going to be.
Good.
I will be staying still. Well, not really staying still, but I'll stick with my routine for the rest of the year. But in January, I will be in Tampa at the Doug meetup. That's at the beginning of January. February, I think there's another Summit Roadshow also going to Tampa in February. Then I'll be at Directions in April, Dynamics Con in May, Summit next year, and then there's a few other conferences I'm trying to schedule in as well. But if Wade comes down for golfing, you should tag along, and maybe he could show us both how to golf if you don't know how to golf.
I'm not allowed to golf. Wade has told me that before. I just work on relationships. I'll drive the golf cart. How about that?
There you
Wade,
go. And
I hear a
drink.
trip coming, Wade.
Because you're a partner, Brad, I'd probably I'd have the patience to take you out there.
Excellent. We're setting that up. It's the weather's beautiful now down south. So, and the great golf courses in my area. I don't know. Someone told me, they said there's 28 golf courses in my area. So you could come and spend a whole week golfing.
Just within your area?
Just within just within the city.
Wow, that's quite a bit.
Yeah, I haven't validated that. I think I will look that up to validate that, and I'll have to get back to Wade. But Wade.
Yeah. Hey, before we go, can I just tell a short story?
Absolutely.
I know Brad and Christopher, you guys probably also do some like community outreach or some other thing aside from what you do for work. I mean, you obviously do this, so that's part of it. I'm on the Northern Virginia Community College Foundation board, and Nova Community College is actually the second largest community college in the United States. And they were actually written up in this book written by Harvard Education Press. The book was called America's Hidden Economic Engines, and it's about how community colleges are preparing the workforce, preparing like this, workforce for future jobs, the jobs of the future. Okay, obviously IT fits into that, and things like data centers and stuff like that. So, but the story is this: I recently, and I'll send you the picture, and you can maybe share it as part of the podcast. But so recently, I went to one of the campuses of Northern Virginia Community College, where one afternoon they were just having an industry student networking session, and there were 30 students from their IET division. So this is Information and Engineering Technology, IET. So these are students that are planning to get into the IT field or cybersecurity, whatever. And they had 30 students, and they had 10 industry executives there. I was one of them. And the industry executives sat at different tables, and then the students could go around each table and just have a discussion with the industry executives, ask whatever questions they want, whatever. So I happened to be sitting at the table with the head of AWS, Amazon, who oversees their whole data center operations. So over the course of the afternoon, we spoke to about probably 12 students. But the contrast was pretty extreme. Like, you got AWS, the guy that oversees all of the data centers, okay, for AWS. You can imagine that. And there's me, US Transactions Corp, a small entrepreneurial company. But it's what I found, well, two things. Number one, that people are very interested in hearing from an entrepreneur. You guys are entrepreneurs yourselves. And probably about 20% of these students are themselves going to become entrepreneurs. They're going to work for a company, but they are eventually going to start their own company. So it's very important for them to hear what the life is and the journey of an entrepreneur. But the second thing is I talked about how exciting it is to work in the Microsoft space. And I just wanted to say that it really is exciting to work in the Microsoft space. And that was one of the message I communicated to these kids. And they were really, and actually they're not all kids, because some of them are reskill. So some of them are 30-year-olds that are in different fields, and they're going back for some certification program, maybe to the community college, and now they're going to go back into the workforce in information or engineering technologies in a much higher paid position, where there's a shortage, where there's a need, so that we are all not competing against each other for the same, hiring each other, resources away from each other, right?
Yes.
That is a great.
That's awesome that you're doing that.
That is great on many levels. One, the Microsoft community I found has been amazing, as we've talked about. Two, I'm thankful that you mentioned the reskill, because I know there's a reskill program even within Business Central, because as time changes or as businesses evolve, some positions need to, or some individuals need to, maybe change. And it's nice to see that there's options available to give them the opportunity to learn a new skill, to be able to work and compete with others in the industry, or in an industry. It's the same. I talk to so many people struggling, looking for a position. They always want someone who has experience, but yet nobody wants to give someone that experience, so that they have to have the experience and where they start. Right. So that whole reskilling program, I think, is amazing, and it's a great opportunity to help everyone, because none of us know where we will be, right, in a few years with positions, the way the world is changing and the job force. So it's great to see that the community, I quote, everyone thinks I'm in a cult. I say that over and over again when I say the community
cult.
But thank you for sharing that, Wade. That, to me, is a powerful story for many levels, not only from the entrepreneurship, but just giving back and sharing your experience and sharing your knowledge with others, so that they can also become successful in the workforce, and also those that may have had some, changes in their life, to be able to learn a new skill, to be able to still continue to perform and provide and have pleasure working. But again, thank you both for taking the time to speak with us this afternoon. I appreciate it, and I hope that you both have a pleasant holiday. This guaranteed will be released before the holiday, because the holiday is in just a few short hours. So thank you again for your time. We appreciate it.
Okay.
Good
all right,
seeing
thanks
you.
a lot, Brad.
All right, take care.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao.
All right, you guys are the best. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, Kris, for your time for another episode of In the Dynamics Corner Chair. And thank you to our guests for participating.
Thank you, Brad, for your time. It is a wonderful episode of Dynamics Corner Chair. I would also like to thank our guests for joining us. Thank you for all of our listeners tuning in as well. You can find Brad at developerlife.com. That is DVLPRLIFE.com. And you can interact with them via Twitter, DVLPRLIFE. You can also find me at matalino.io, matalino.io. And my Twitter handle is matalino16. And you can see those links down below in the show notes. Again, thank you, everyone. Thank you, and take care.